Today we're talking about what to do when you get fired. Hey, where's my smoke? Oh, there's my smoke. How pretty. Alright, so the signs of you're going to get fired. Let's talk about those and what to keep an eye out for. So if you get into an argument with a higher up, once the word goes around, and at least probably by the time you get to the next review cycle, might be coming. Did a higher up call you out for doing something? Like in a meeting you were in with the higher up, he called you out in front of everyone for doing something known as a mistake. Have you had feedback from your manager recently? So actually the biggest indicator is if you haven't had feedback for a while, right? The manager's been on his own and you've been on your own and no one really knows what you've been working on, if you've been contributing. Have you delivered anything recently? So if you haven't delivered anything recently, again, right, no one really knows what you're doing or how you're contributing. When it comes around talking about who to let go, it's going to be you. So did you deliver something that didn't go over well? So you worked on this project for 3 months and then you deliver it and it's not what everyone expected, even if it met the specs. I know it sucks. Does your morale seem low? So people can tell when you're not happy at the job, whether you're still performing well or not. If you are sad, that's going to count against you. All right, so if any of those things happen and you think that this might be coming, here's how we head it off at the pass. So if you're not happy, others probably aren't either. You could start a union. As soon as you start that union, you're going to have a little bit of retaliatory protection. They might actually be afraid. They'll be very careful when they let you go. They'll make sure and put you on a performance improvement plan if they want to let you go and counsel you out, which is really the right way to let someone go anyway. So if you're struggling because of a disability, make sure you ask for accommodations. So maybe they're not aware you even have a disability, or maybe they are and just not realize that you're struggling and need some additional accommodations. Make sure you bring that up. Don't bring it up at the meeting where you're being terminated. So ask for family leave if you're having problems at work due to family stuff. Even if it's not due to family stuff, you can, if you look at the Family Medical Leave Act, you'll find something that you can work with. Take some time off and be guaranteed a job when you come back. So ask for feedback. So this is important not only to establish that connection and make sure you're on the right path not to get fired. But if they give you positive feedback just because they don't want to be confrontational with negative feedback, if you get that positive feedback in writing, then that's going to be a defense. So ask for a different position. So you could just say, I'm really struggling with this position. I'm not motivated to do it. Ask for something else. The other things are, with heading off at the pass is preparing your resume. Ask your coworkers for recommendations on LinkedIn and start looking for work. So not only is this helping you possibly land a job that you like better, but also be closer to finding that job if they let you go. And then finally, just the fact that you are looking for work kind of makes it seem like you are, not that you're looking for work, but if they see that there's possible interest in other companies in you, it kind of makes you seem more valuable. And then finally, clean up your work computer, Back up any promises that you have from your employer, either in writing or oral, for any thing that they promised to you. But make sure, when they get you get terminated, and you don't have access to your computer anymore, that there's no personal files on it, and that everything that you need, because we tend to store some personal stuff that we need on our work computers. Make sure you get that off. So here's what's coming. Here's when you know it's coming. So you're just at work one day, and your supervisor comes up and says, "Hey, let's meet real quick." And you're like, okay. And then you go to grab your laptop to meet him in the conference room, and he says, "You don't need your laptop." Okay, that's the last time you're going to see your laptop, so kiss it goodbye. So you get to the conference room, there's one person sitting in there. It's the HR person. They say, "Hi, I don't know if you remember me. I'm Bob from HR." And that's when your blood leaves your brain, flows to your feet. Your endorphins kick in, the limbic system engages. And it's pretty rough to have this experience. But everyone goes through it. The more you go through it, the more you realize, right, that you probably should have left anyway. And also, there's no perfect job. So here we are in the conference room with the HR person and your supervisor. The first thing you want to do is, they're going to offer you a severance agreement, probably. And the reason they do this is usually has a non-disparagement agreement, so you can't disparage them. Also holds you against suing them for anything that they did wrong. So that's why we're not signing it, because we really need to look at if we do have any claims, and if those claims would pay out more than the settlement agreement. More than the severance package that they're offering. So if you're over 40, also you by law have 21 days to review a severance agreement. So you're not required. They might pressure you. They might not even know that you're over 40. If you don't look at and you just say, "Hey, I don't know if you know I'm over 40. I'm not going to sign this today. Need some time to review it." And then another thing is, if you're over 40 and after that 21 days, if you do accept it, after you accept it, you have another 7 days to actually change your mind and revoke it. So if you're under 40, in theory, right, you're under pressure to agree to it at that moment. However, not really, right? Because the whole concept of knowing and voluntary is proportional to the amount of time they give you to review the agreement, especially with an attorney. But you should ask your personnel file here in the meeting. Say, "Hey, if you can provide my personnel file that includes all the grievances and reason for my termination, and let me review it, I might be willing to sign the severance agreement right now." So they're probably not going to do that. So they're going to let you take it with you. So as far as how much severance there is, or whether there's a severance package at all, so it's traditional for 2 weeks, but really you need to ask what they historically paid. So when they offer it to you, say, "Is this what you've historically paid people in my position?" Look in the employee handbook. Say, "Hey, do you have an employee handbook? Does it say anything about severance packages?" And then a good time also now is to bring up any promises, oral or written, that you relied upon. Because you might actually, if you want to, save your job here. So it's possible HR and your supervisor don't know about some agreements that you have with someone else about your position, and that person that you got an agreement with was not consulted. So you could say, the chief financial officer had promised me that if I stayed on for 6 more months, that I would get a bonus or something like that. So you relied on that promise, and you decided not to take other offers or even review other offers, so that you could keep that promise. So they're required to keep their promise as well. So ask about paycheck and ask for belongings when handing over access methods. So this, I should have said this before, but this video is about California. So in California, they're required to give you your paycheck on the day you're terminated. Like, don't make a big deal if they don't have it. It's a common mistake, and you're going to be able to collect as a result additional penalties because they don't have it ready. So just ask if they have it. If they don't, just ask them how they're going to get it to you. So the last paycheck actually cannot be direct deposited. They have to offer you a check unless you agree to have it direct deposited. And before you hand over your key card to get in the building, ask for your belongings, or at least arrange for when you're going to get them. If it's during open enrollment at the time for health benefits, like typically at the end of the year, during that time where you have opportunities to make changes to your health benefits, you might want to make a change to your health benefits before you leave. That way, when COBRA kicks in, it'll be with that package, because once COBRA kicks in, you're not able to change the package, the health insurance package. All right, so after you get home, some post-termination tips: don't volunteer the employer's property. You can look at your agreements. You probably agreed to turn it in, but you're not required to drive it to their office. Right? If they ask you about it, make it available to them to pick up. You can go out of your way to bring it to them, but you're not required to. If they carry your property to you, right? They pack up your desk and send it to you. Or you forgot something, right? Demand that they return all property. It really depends on how big of a pain you are and how spiteful you are. But you could say, hey, there were some ketchup packets in my drawer. I didn't see those here. I really wanted those ketchup packets back. Like, you can be as petty as you want. Say, hey, those paper clips were mine. They don't really know. Be as petty as you want. That was my stapler. I brought it from home. I mean, they won't know, but theft is illegal. So apply for unemployment benefits immediately, even if severance is offered. So a lot of people, because they think they're going to get 2 weeks of severance pay, they wait 2 weeks to file unemployment benefits, but that's not what you want to do. You want to file for the unemployment benefits immediately, and then if you get paid severance and the severance counts for 2 weeks of pay, then you just waive those 2 weeks. That's the correct way to do it. Because first of all, you don't know if you're going to get severance, but it's also good to make it clear with them how the severance is going to be reported to the government. So besides unemployment benefits, because unemployment benefits aren't making that much, you probably qualify for CalFresh, which is basically the food stamp program in California. So the other thing you want to do is you want to request your employment records and pay records. This is going to be one of the ways you're going to see if you have a valid claim. Because when you request your employment records, you can request, all grievances they had against you, and that might be related to the reason you're being terminated, including emails, Slack messages, Microsoft Teams messages. And a lot of times they just won't want to provide that. So you're going to end up having a claim because they're not going to provide it. So the last and maybe the most important is don't worry. Right? Don't have, try and avoid the black and white thinking. It's not the end of the world. It's actually a good time for you to take, some time off. It's going to be all right, especially during these times right now. There's a lot of programs that'll help you pay rent or mortgage while you figure something out. Okay, so let's go over the most common claims that I see that people have. So we talked about this, did you rely upon an oral or written promise? So like I said before, if they offered you something, and like I had someone once, their employer had offered to pay for a medical procedure because it would help them with their employment. And just because they terminated the employee doesn't mean that offer that was accepted is no longer valid. So the employer still had to pay for the medical procedure. So did you get meal breaks, or did you work a 9-to-5 job without a lunch? So this is a common mistake that companies make, especially the small ones, because they're not familiar with all the nuances of the law, and their HR person, isn't a real HR person. It's, some office manager that is filling in for HR or something. And then the larger companies, just because they're so large, it's really hard to get this information disseminated down to managers. So there's a lot of people who are just working 9-to-5, which is, and then they're also required to work an 8-hour shift every day. So with that, there's really no room to have a lunch break. And even if they signed a handbook saying that they will take a lunch, and even if there's a poster up saying, that they have a right to take a lunch, if you were working your 9-to-5 every day, now they owe you 1 hour as a pay for every day you work there. So that's almost guaranteed. I mean, if you're working in California, you're gonna win that one. So, did they give you your paycheck on the day of termination? So, like I said, they have to give it to you on the day of termination. For every day they're late, they actually owe you 1 day of pay for up to 30 days. Additionally, there's a monetary penalty on top of that. So did the paycheck include PTO? So this is a good one too. So if they gave you the paycheck but it didn't include your PTO, then they really haven't met that burden of giving you your paycheck. So if they gave you the paycheck after 14 days, but it didn't include the PTO, they didn't meet the requirement of giving your paycheck. So they owe you, right? If they go 15 more days without giving you that paycheck with the PTO, then you get those 15 more days of your base pay. So even if they have an unlimited time off policy, so California, I mean, there's not been any case law decided yet, but as a result, it's and as a result of a lot of employment benefits being decided in the favor of the employee, if they have an unlimited time off policy, they pretty much have to offer you PTO if you've earned it. So they kind of have to suddenly establish what would be a reasonable amount of PTO that they owe you based on how much time that you took off and how long you've been working there, how much PTO you might have earned. So that might even be up to negotiation. So did they send you your employment records on time? So that's something I said, that if you're under 40, right, you should request your personal records at that time. Even if you're over 40, you're going to want to request your employment records, and they have, forget how many days it is to send you your employment records. I think it's 20 days, because it's oddly, I think it's 1 day less than the time period to decide if you want to sign the severance agreement. So they have 20 days to supply your employment records. That's the one that includes any grievances against you. And a lot of employers try and argue that they have no written employment records, but because the statute is clear that Slack messages and email messages about you are included, that's the one that their HR team is going to lose. So typically, they end up not providing them, and it's just an automatic win for you. So there's a penalty you get for that automatically, a monetary penalty. So did they send you your paycheck records on time? That's another thing you should request immediately. First of all, you might need those, and you probably haven't kept them because you didn't think you were going to need them. So you can request those, and they should send you a copy of all your pay stubs within a certain amount of time. And if they don't do it within a certain amount of time, you can get monetary damages too. And then, of course, injunctive relief, right? So in theory, all these times you request employment records and they don't send them to you, like you can sue for the monetary damages, but in theory, you could also sue that they provide the emails, which is one reason why they're often likely to settle instead of doing that. All right, so my next video, I'm just going to walk you through drafting a request for employment records and pay records. So we'll actually open up Word and type that up, and you can see what that letter looks like, how you might format a letter like that, and we'll probably refer back to the video I have for finding a registered resident agent. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.